This is a Ryobi P743 USB power station bank thing that fits on one of these 18-volt OnePlus batteries. And main problem with it is when you turn it on, because it doesn't output 5 volts as soon as hooked up to a battery. You have to actually turn it on with the button. There's no idiot light that's normally on it to say that the outputs are energized. So that's why there's this T1 3/4 high brightness green LED there. That's just to say that, hey, it's on. And the reason I used a high brightness indium gallium nitride dye LED is because the drive current of that is somewhere in the order of about 400 microamperes, you know, plus minus a few tens of microamperes. Didn't exactly measure it and don't particularly care. It's one of those in series with a 5600 ohm resistor. And also note where it's installed. That's because there's a free space down in there for the leads and what have you in this particular area of the thing. You might also be able to stick an LED there if it's if it's a T1 LED. But the thing is that right about here there's an electrolytic capacitor for the output of the switching converter that generates the 5-volt rail for the USB ports. So there wouldn't really be room for one there. But here, possibly here, but again there's a reinforcing rib right there. This is just the easiest part to put it in, or the easiest area to put the LED in. And here's just how I did the mod. There's a resistor here wrapped in electrical tape, which is stuck up in this corner because there isn't enough space between the circuit board and this wall, which forms, you know, one of the walls of the battery pokey bit, for a 1/4 watt thin film resistor to fit. Now, power dissipation is minimal because, again, high brightness LED being grossly underdriven, that resistor is dissipating at most 1 milliwatt, and probably more accurately somewhere in the neighborhood of like the high hundreds of microwatts. So that resistor has a safety factor in excess of 250. So power dissipation is not that much of a concern. You might be able to get away with it if you had mad surface mount foo skills with a 1206 or 0805 resistor that's just kind of, one end is stuck on the solder joint, one end has the wire stuck onto it. But the problem is, because this is something that's going to get knocked around a bit in service, you're better off just doing what I did. Because a surface mount resistor, it's, shall we say, mechanically fairly delicate and at risk of getting cronked. So yeah. And again, this is the guts of it, just fairly standard DC to DC topology. There's a microcontroller on there to control everything. No idiot light because stupid. But yeah, it's certainly a worthwhile mod and something that should have been done from the factory. And again, no liability, because granted these aren't stupid expensive, but it would take a lot of work to end up dead doing this mod, but you never underestimate human stupidity. But yeah, overall, it's, if you know what to do and you know how to do it, it's fairly worthwhile just because it tells you that the thing's on.